This is Means End.
Hi, this is Robert, and you're watching the Means End Vocalist Series Part 5, The Making of the Didact. So our album is finally finished, recorded, and made. It took about 1.5 years to do this, of which the last year was simply trying to figure out how to record, how to make the CD, and everything else. The bulk of the songs were pretty much done over 1 year ago. And for every version of the song, I had about 5 versions of vocals before landing on what you hear on the CD. So what it would go like would be, Christian would send me a song, or Rasmus or Leo, and sometimes they wouldn't even be finished versions of the songs. They'd just be choirs, pianos, and drums, or sloppy guitars and that kind of thing. And I'd set on this headset here, which is just a conference headset with a cheap microphone on it, and I would sing in falsetto the different melodies, like that, and the growl parts I would whisper scream, so I'd go, and it did sound pretty good for communicating the ideas that I had for the songs. So here you can hear what one of those songs sounded like earlier with just falsetto and whisper screams on it. And so while I was using the falsetto and whisper scream method, it would save me time because I really wanted to try and find progressive sounding melodies for these songs. So here you can compare an early version of Crimson Interloper, the chorus in it, with a later version. Here's another example in Aeronaut where I went a little bit overboard with the cheese and we changed it later to sound a little bit more One disadvantage of writing everything in falsetto is that you don't notice how high the notes are until you try to record them in full voice. And several places on the album I noticed when trying to record the final takes that I had written things that were right on the edge of what I could do and gave me a lot of trouble. One of those songs was To Love, and there was this one section that goes... That little legato part just took me at least 200 tries to get right. And another difficulty was that I didn't want to triple dub or quintuple dub some of my takes like you typically do on cleans, on pop vocals and on rock vocals to make them sound more in tune and more thick, which really made it difficult for me and made me have to chop up the vocals in small parts. Which I think is very apparent in the song Candle in the Dark. Like I said, it really did take 1 million takes. lot. Going from whisper screams to growls and maintaining the intensity was also difficult. If you listen to these early versions of Sun Wukong, I nailed the timing of how I wanted the growls to be, you know, switching from straights to triplets to halftime to, you know, however I wanted to accentuate it. And the original sounded like this. You can see the timing was there, but I changed the lyrics, and I did it with full power, which brought two challenges. One is coming up with lyrics that actually match the number of syllables that you've come up with when you do it with your whisper scream. But two is it's really easy to have a super high intensity when you have a technical growl that's mid-range. And I've said in my earlier videos, if you can't scream or growl like you would at an assailant that's attacking you, then it's not really a scream or growl. So one of those that's not a real scream. My growls are really loud and I get really tired from doing them. Fortunately, I don't ruin my voice, which made it easy for me to do the cleans first and the growls afterwards.
So I'm left with nothing to say to you.
An extremely challenging aspect was trying to write vocals per parts where there were fast key changes on top of complicated rhythms with uncommon chords. In Crimson Interloper we ended up taking away the vocals, so now I can show you what I would have written over this part. Here's the part without vocals on it first. Okay, so what's happening here is that the choirs which are underneath are playing a complicated rhythm and are changing keys quite often. So when I write the vocals, I'm tempted to try and follow the choirs because that way I know I'm safe across key changes, trying to find common notes across key changes and that kind of thing. But I really have to force myself to try and write first a melody that's independent of exactly what the choir is singing rhythmically, and then also that has a melody that sounds more given, that you can sing along to as if it was a diatonic scale type melody, even though it might not be. And so it doesn't sound forced and follow the general upward direction of chords of choirs that are underneath, or the downward direction of the choirs that are underneath, but really follows the way that a nice vocal melody would follow. Maybe it's easier if you just listen to what I ended up writing. If I just focus on what the choir is doing here, it sounds like this. So in that particular case, I did come up with something that I think was pretty nifty, but we decided amongst us in the band that we weren't going to have vocals on that particular part. In Sun Wukong, however, there's an equally challenging part that I wrote vocals to, and this is what it sounds like underneath. On the album I came up with a melody that I wouldn't say sounds conventional, but is pretty easy to sing along to and sounds a bit jazzy. However, in some parts of the album, the melodies that are underneath are just too difficult to sing to. Not that you can't sing to them, it would just sound really strange to sing along to them, almost jarring. An example of that is in the song To Love, and I've actually gotten questions from fans on why I chose to growl in the song To Love, which is otherwise a pretty soft song. And if we break down the following section where I growl, this is what you hear on the album. What's happening underneath there is a lot of things. Let's start with the choir. Just that by itself is challenging, but let's keep going. On top of that, there is a piano that's playing in triplets. It doesn't stop there. On top of that, there's a jazz guitar and bass. So in this particular case, I decided to take the cheap route and not come up with vocals on top of that melody because it would, I don't think it would make it sound good, and I just growled on top of it. But beyond choirs and chords and all that kind of thing, I really wanted to see all the different sounds that I could make with my voice that still fit into metal. Some people think it sounds really theatrical and exaggerated, but, you know, what is music? Music is just expression and theater and showing, you know, what you sound like. And I think I managed to squeeze in a lot of different sounds on this album, from my best impression of operatic tenor, the most brutal growls and screams that I made, almost pig squeal like sounds, super high falsettos, super low guttural. The choirs are really the center point of our music, and from early versions of the songs to the final versions that are on the album, I really tried to tweak the vocal harmonies that I laid down on the tracks, because you know, it's very tempting to try and go the way of perfect fifth and to just dub yourself underneath to make your voice sound fatter. But I already said I didn't want to do that, so I wanted to have real harmonies that were panned apart or made you know, a choir type effect or a harmonic effect to my voice, not just a dub. And a perfect example of that is in Magnanimous. The version that you hear on the EP has harmonies in the beginning that are nice together, but I really think we made them more dynamic and juicy in the final version. Another example of a song where the vocal harmonies actually have separate melodies from each other is in Lied von Leid, and you can hear it clearly here. this type of harmony really makes a difference, especially in choruses. I think in Arbiter of Time I made a really neat effect where the chorus is actually in major, and then I add a minor harmony on the center channel, which makes it really sound dissonant. And these aren't dubs, these are harmonies. And they're panned apart and sound really neat, so this is what it sounds like a bit more clear. The Didact was a huge undertaking for me, and I've gotten lots of great feedback on the internet, both positive and negative. But this isn't the end, so I guess I'll be seeing you soon.